A Fox Biz alert, congressional leaders meeting behind closed doors right now to rejigger the financial reform bill thought to be on the ropes earlier today. Now, ahead of the meeting, Democrats dropping a contentious $19 billion bank tax, and replacing it with funds used from the TARP fund. Minnesota Republican Congresswoman Michele Bachmann says it's still taxpayer money that's paying for all of this stuff. Thanks a lot for joining us. So this, though, is going to be enough, it looks like, if they drop this bank tax to lure a few Republicans back into supporting the bill. But you think it's a mistake no matter what?
I think it is a mistake no matter what, because it is a job-killing bill. It will cost raising taxes. It will add a regulatory increase. And the big problem, of course, is that we will not see reform of the center of the storm, which is Fannie and Freddie. We need to reform Fannie and Freddie first, and then we can talk about the other areas. But let's, after all, not institutionalize what got us into this problem in the first place. That's what this bill does.
Well, I agree with you 1,000% on Fannie and Freddie, but that's nowhere even, it's not in a stadium, let alone in a batter's box.
That's right. That's right.
I would guess, though, that the Barney Frank and others who are putting this together would say that's exactly, as far as paying for the bill and not taxing taxpayers, that's exactly why they want the $19 billion, either from Wall Street banks or from unused funds out of the TARP program.
Well, I don't think they'll be getting a full $19 billion out of the TARP program. They're hoping to wind up the TARP program earlier. They were looking at about $11 billion in savings. That's still a shortfall of somewhere in the neighborhood of $8 billion. And nonetheless, that $11 billion is still taxpayer money. So no matter how you slice it, it's still coming out of the same pocket, which is the taxpayers, and it's actually on the credit card. And so we're actually borrowing that money in order to pay for this.
And then so essentially that does at some point reflect in a deficit then?
Yes, it does, and it causes the deficit to continue to climb, and people are extremely nervous all across the country. And of course, that will ultimately mean that borrowing rates will be going up, and that won't be good for our recovery, because again, we have extended joblessness, and that is not helping Main Street. Main Street wants jobs, and this is a job-killing bill.
Congresswoman Bachmann, what do you make of the fact that we went into this ostensibly to reform Wall Street, to get rid of too big to fail, and those type of things, when this bill, and I guess soon to be law, doesn't do any of that?
No, it doesn't do any of that. You're exactly right. It institutionalized and makes permanent too big to fail. And so now we're actually going to give the power to the federal government to go into viable existing private businesses, and if government deems they're too big to fail, government can take over a private business. This is unheard of. This is nowhere allowed under the Constitution, and unfortunately it's a fraud on the American taxpayer. The administration will try to sell this bill as being reforming Wall Street, which, yes, we all agree needs to be done. Unfortunately, this bill doesn't do it. It perpetuates bailouts, and that's not what the American people want right now.
Well, to your point, last week when this bill initially went through, Wall Street stocks actually went higher. Thank you very much for your time this afternoon.
Thank you.
All right.